Hello everyone, welcome to Scary Alien Stories for Alien Theorists. My name is Yamku. This is the start of a new series which is about various alien stories that are 100% true. In this series, I will be telling the stories to you whilst at certain points there will be some visuals to help guide the story. Starting tonight's episode off, we will be telling the tale of Daniel and his scary alien story that he and his family have gone over and recalled for us today. This story is most commonly known as the Riverside Spotter's story. Let's get into the story. Daniel was a young 9-year-old boy who lives in South Carolina at the time of these events. He lived a normal ordinary life on a pig farm. He lived with his mother, father, 2 brothers, a sister and his uncle. Before the night of the sighting we must tell some backstory pieces that had been happening. Firstly, the farm was surrounded by a large pine forest which the children would play during their own time, making huts and games and toys out of sticks, stones and leaves and any other things they could find on the ground. The farm was about a 37-acre large area, with most of it being used for farming pigs. However, they only had just over 100 pigs at any time, since the father of Daniel worked at the local pub and the rest of the family worked on the farm. The closest city was over a 3.5-hour drive away, and most of the time the farm was dead silent apart from the moans of pigs. The farm also had a small river in the pine fields right next to it and was used by the kids to go swimming or just throw rocks into. Now that we understand the scene, we can get to the night of the sighting. But just before we start, I would like to give a quick warning to the viewers, as this story may be disturbing for some and isn't recommended for those who are of the light-hearted type, and for the skeptics of aliens who believe that this isn't true. We ask of you to hear the story through, and although we have no evidence of the incidences, you will need to take the word of Daniel and his family, who told us as much as they could and complete truth of what they recall happening. You have been warned. April 1994, Daniel Cross was a 9-year-old boy who had been living on his family's farm for his entire life. He never went to school but instead was raised by his family members on the farm. Daniel always had trouble speaking in proper English in his early years and was the only of his family to have green eyes. All the rest of his family had brown eyes. April 2, 1994, Daniel's family had noticed that Daniel had been developing a small stutter in his speech and movements. He also seemed to be not as cheerful or happy as he usually was. Daniel's family, although they noticed, didn't think anything of the situation. April 6, 1994, Daniel had started to have nightmares in his sleep. His stutters grew longer and more frequent, and he also started wanting to be alone more often and staying inside rather than playing with his brothers and sisters. At this point, Daniel's parents and siblings had been getting increasingly more concerned of Daniel's actions. April 10, 1994, at this point in the story, Daniel had been increasingly becoming more and more strange. Up to the point on April 10 where during the night he left the house during the middle of the night. Even Daniel says he does not remember what happened during this time. April 12, 1994, Daniel had been missing for 2 days, but during the middle of the day at around 1:30, he knocked on the door. From his family's perspective, they said he was thinner, pale and covered in mud. After being asked where he was, Daniel simply responded, "I do not know, mother." The family now decided to watch over him that night in case of anything else happening. April 15, 1994, Daniel had seemed to be getting better from his previous condition, apart from the fact he experienced migraine headaches at 3 various times of the day. 6 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon and 9 at night. These headaches would usually leave Daniel screaming on the ground in agony, screaming, "It's in my head." April 19, 1994, Daniel had not experienced any migraine headaches for a few days and went out to play with his siblings in the forest. As soon as the farm was no longer visible from inside the forest, Daniel started walking away from the group of children. The others followed after him, trying to stop him from continuing further into the forest. Daniel continued walking, ignoring the others completely. Daniel's oldest brother attempted to grab Daniel and stop him from walking any forwards. Daniel screamed and fell to the ground. One of the children noticed at this point a tall figure standing still in an opening in the forest about 25 meters down. Daniel, after hearing this, looked forwards, yelling random noises, pointing at the figure as it starts moving towards the children. The other children realized what was happening, grabbed Daniel by each limb and shuffled as fast as they could towards the forest edge. Coming by the river close to the farm, they spot a figure similar to one they saw in the forest, but this one had a hole in its head piercing through roughly about the size of an eye. The kids eventually made it to the farmhouse, terrified and panicked. Racing to the parents, who believed everything after the events that had happened prior to this taking place. That ends today's episode of Scary Stories for Alien Theorists. I hope tonight when you go to sleep you aren't too spooked. Before we end this episode, one would just like to say thank you to Twitter user Oram for this lovely piece of art. It is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching. Good night.